So every 6,000 years, there's something called a sun cycle and a moon cycle. And those cycles, beings were incarnating on different cycles at different times, to the point where the last moon cycle, when beings were manifested in flesh, this became your Caucasian race. Okay. And that Caucasian race, their nature is diabolical. Their nature is made up of different species of beings or creatures, and they're destructive by nature. They were given the last 6,000 years to rule this planet.
So when is the last 6,000 years for them to rule this planet going to be over?
It's over. But there's remnants that's taking place to us. Like, you know, when you have residuals?
Yeah, okay.
So there's a residual of still them in control. And we perpetuate it because we're still afraid to come out of their system. We're still afraid to start our own businesses. We're still afraid to work amongst each other and trust each other. You see what I'm saying? It's not just that. It's that when we were in their rulership from the moon cycle, it's called the moon cycle.
Yeah.
It came with it, them mixing in with us. So they've mixed in our blood. And when somebody's in your very fiber of your DNA and can influence you, you see what I'm saying? And where you go against your own nature and you fight against your brother and sister because they're in your DNA.
It's like America right now.
Exactly. Yeah. You know, black on black crime. Exactly. All of that's taken up. Exactly.
So, yeah. So who's going to rule for the next 6 months? Well, so there's another cycle, right?
So there's a cycle that continues perpetually.
So there's another 6,000 year cycle.
That's
who's
right.
Run that?
We will be running it if we get our stuff together. It's our time to rule.
Yeah, but all this if, but I thought, laying facts, are we going to do it, yes or no?
It's up to you. You see, the helping hand, where's the helping hand? At the end of your own arm. That's the saying. Yeah, we're looking for a savior. That's why they created religion. Because religion then doesn't get you to do it by yourself. It gets you to wait for some being that's going to come 2,000 years ago and still ain't arrived.
No one's coming.
Yeah, but that's what brothers and sisters believe. You know what I mean? Yeah, and this is why we're caught in this trap. We're caught in a religious trap because we still can't fathom the fact that we are the deities. We are the gods. And the only way the change is going to happen is if we decide to make that change. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's my question for now. Yeah.
No problem, my brother. Any more questions online? Or on Clubhouse, Zoom? Are we still live? Because I don't know if I can be heard. It keeps recording and then stopping. We're good, yeah? All right. Okay, any more questions?
I have a question.
All right, Rahubat, who am I speaking to?
Stephen.
Rahubat, Stephen, how you doing?
I'm good, thanks. Our question is, yeah, I do like psychedelics and mushrooms and stuff like that. And like my thing is, so have you heard of panspermia before?
Panspermia as in the science of how the planet was seeded, or you talking about panspermia as a drug?
Basically, yeah. So like the science on how the planet
was
seeded.
Which one? The latter or the former?
By the mycelium network.
Oh, right. Okay.
So basically the mycelium eats rock and then it shits out soil. Did you know?
Okay.
Yeah. And like basically,
I'm listening.
It's my thoughts is has he got a part to rook on actual magic mushrooms? And like they're
Partner Babyanun doesn't we don't good question, but we don't advocate any form of drug stimulants or anything like that.
But mushrooms ain't a drug though.
Hallucinogens, any hallucinogens or anything like that. If you're talking about in a sense of what, for it to open you up, you mean, or what are you looking for it to do?
So we have the nervous system of the planet, yeah, which is actually the mycelium, and we have that within inside of ourselves, which is our nervous system. Yeah, so what I'm saying basically, so you've got so above, so below, and the bigger picture is actually the mushrooms. Mm-hmm. Do you understand what I'm saying? And my thing is, this is what got me with brother Malachi Z. York, yeah, is that he doesn't talk on the
Mm.
mushrooms because the
He doesn't
mushrooms
talk
is
on the. No, he does talk on
important.
the mushroom. No, hold on, hold on.
He
Pause.
does, yeah.
He does talk on the mushrooms because there's a
That's why I
mushroom
asked, is there a
that
part
like
to look on the actual mushrooms, on the
yeah, he
mycelium
hasn't he
network?
hasn't written a whole book on the subject. It's down to you really to do your research on that. But he has mentioned the reishi mushroom. Okay, the reishi mushroom is
I'm
one
chatting
of
about the psychedelic side of it because what? So the way I've been taught by a Kalindi EE, yeah. So mushrooms actually built the pyramids, and is like the Egyptian culture is actually a mushroom culture. Do you know what I'm saying? Because
okay,
to be
my
able
brother,
to,
my brother, that I don't know anything about. I haven't studied it anywhere or have any forms of scientific or factual proof.
so we got a
Um,
Darren,
A
you
question.
got you got
I
a
have a
yeah, so
question.
Darren,
we're not really gonna venture
the
down there.
Baron.
We don't that doesn't in line, it's not in line with Wu-Sabat. So we'll just can we just
I'm
ask
not. Listen, say, bro. Yeah, it's just a question, isn't it? And you want us to? Do you know what I'm
no,
saying?
okay, I'll answer your question then.
Yeah, like,
Partner Babyanon, Dr. Malaka's joke has
I
not
feel like you're
really
just trying to sweep me to the side, like, mate.
okay, let me
My
let me
thing
let me
is, yeah,
finish. Let me finish, my brother. Otherwise, I
you didn't
will.
let me finish, but I'll let you finish. Go on, brother.
Yeah, we don't advocate mushrooms that are stimulants that open up the mental realms because we know that once you open yourself up, certain beings can step into your being and take over, okay, and or influence the way you think. We do.
Can they do? Can
Hold
they
on,
can
hold on,
they
hold on,
do
hold
that?
on. Let me finish.
Sorry,
Let me finish. We
can
do
they do
teach the
that
master.
without
Dr.
the mushrooms,
Malachi
though?
Zedjork
Yeah, go
has
on.
written about the reishi mushroom, which is good for the cognitive mind. And also there's other mushroom like shiitake and lion's mane, etc., which is very good for the receptive mind, but not as a hallucinogen because of the fact that when you open yourself up, especially your pineal gland, okay, you are accessing spirit forces or entities that can actually incarnate into you or take over your body. So we don't advocate those mushrooms. Do you understand? I understand that yes, the mycelium, it can cover a vast network underground. You with me? And it
The
does
mycelium is the mother, is the network, is the coding. So basically, the mycelium allows you to actually speak to plants, and it reconnects you. That's why when you put your feet on the earth, yeah, you connect to the hub because it's Mother Earth, and it's through the mycelium. That's why they call it Mother Earth. It's due to the mycelium. That's what I'm trying to say to you, innit?
okay. Could you
And I don't understand why, brother.
refer to some books, or is this your own reasoning? If you can refer to some books, we can check it out. But
Yeah, so
right
so so
now,
so
yeah,
so
right now
you have,
we don't really teach
brother,
on
you
we
keep on
haven't got an
interrupting me, bro.
extensive.
Like, all right, cool,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, it's all right. We
So
haven't. I'm
so
not
I'm gonna give
dismissing
you the
you.
reference. You're not
Yeah,
listening.
you put it in the chat what the reference is, and then we can do our own research on that, our due diligence. But
Yeah,
as of
so
now,
just search up
Partner
Darren
Babia
LeBaron,
known.
yeah, and Kalindi EE. Yeah,
Yeah,
please, innit? All right,
that's
cool.
fine. Yeah, you do that. Thank you, my brother.
Thanks, bye.
Okay, question.
Yeah, I had a question. Rahul, brother.
Rahul, hold on. I've got a question that's just been given to me. Um, what do you know about Scientology? Sorry, who's this question from? It just somebody wrote it down, or okay. Okay. Yeah, Scientology, they are Pleiadians. The being L. Ron Hubbard is a Pleiadian, or is an extraterrestrial that he's been pushing their agenda. Okay, so that's who the Scientology is about. It's L. Ron Hubbard. There's a movie that they put out called it showed with John Travolta, wasn't it? And they showed him with 7 foot beings. It was a flop in the box office, but basically the master teacher explained that those were Pleiadians that were invading the planet. But yeah, L. Ron Hubbard, he's linked to the Pleiadians. Okay, so that's the question on Scientology.
Okay,
Okay.
can I ask my question, Rahul, brother?
Rahubat, Rahubat.
Yeah, my name is Yao, and I wanted to ask, who gave this devils 6,000 years to rule this earth? Who gave them this six
Okay.
thousand years, and why?
What it is, Yao? Yeah, I understand. Right. What it is, Yao, is that even right now, I think is the planet is the Pleiadians now. It's been given to the Pleiadians. Yeah, it's up for grabs. This planet's up for grabs now because every cycle, the 6,000 year cycle, beings, according to the Galactical Federation, there's a Galactic Federation that meets. Okay, one of the places that they meet is a place called Mount Shasta. You can check this out on the internet. If you type in Mount Shasta, it's been well known and documented for extraterrestrials and crafts leaving that area. Okay, it's called Mount Shasta. So one of the galactical meetings happens, or some of the galactical meetings happens on this planet in Manchester, and there's also a place called Shambhala in the inner earth. Now, when they had this galactical meeting, certain beings actually voted for our elimination, and some beings voted for our preservation or the preservation of the planet. So right now, when certain extraterrestrials or the beings that are in power, like for instance, America is the so-called superpower. So what extraterrestrials do is that they will go to the leading power force that they see as being the rulers. And at the moment, it's the cycle of the Mukasu race because of the fact that they were given rulership in the last 6,000 years by the Galactical Federation. Yeah, so there's a council that actually meet and they decide who's gonna run the planet. Does that make sense? So the last 6,000 years, that's where your Bible jumps in and it says that man was given dominion. So we know that that man, as we've broken down, is mankind or the Adamite race. Yeah, so the Adamite race were given dominion from the last 6,000 years cycle to rule in peace. But it was found that they were unable to do that because of the mixture of the different genetics that was in there. Does that make sense, Yao? Yao, you there? We've lost you. Okay. I hope you were able to follow that. It's like even if you look in the administration of the UK, you have the Labour Party and you have the Conservatives and you have what other parties is there like
That
Liberal
question
and
was
etc.
from Zamal. That question was
Yeah,
from Nana, but they dropped off
yeah,
and they're back
Nana,
on.
yeah,
Yeah,
you
no, no,
got
no, yeah,
Nana,
I'm
yeah, yeah.
sorry,
Oh, you're
yeah,
back, Nana, yeah,
yeah,
okay. All right,
my
yes.
connection was poor. Sorry for that.
Okay.
So I just wanted to know, so if they gave them 6,000, if they gave them
No,
6,000 years,
I'm just gonna give you another example. I don't think
okay,
you caught my example. So you have the Liberal Party, the Conservatives, Labour, etc. Yeah.
yeah,
So each time they run for office, don't they?
yes,
Okay. When they run for office, people vote them in, and then they
right,
rule for 4 years or 8 years, etc. So you've got like, for instance, the Democrats and the Republicans in America. They've got a cycle, and they rule for that cycle. You see what I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah,
Until they're known to not being able to look after the economy and the administration gets kicked out and then other people vote them in. Well, the same principle also applies to the Galactic Federation. They will come together and they will look at the races on the planet and who needs to be upgraded or who needs to be corrected, who needs work on, etc. And they will send different beings to try and help them, you see what I'm saying, get in an alignment with the rest of the universe. So the being that was sent to us was Parnabad Yanun or
okay,
in the body of
okay,
Kumalakai.
okay, one second, hold on. So
Yeah,
if you're saying
yeah.
that, so
Mm,
we all know that someone made this planet, right?
that's right.
There's
Yeah.
only there's only one person or one thing or whatever that made this whole universe. So
Mhm.
why why would this same person will have to seek permission or have a galactic conference before to decide who needs this or that and this? So if the galactic
Because yeah,
can come together
yeah.
can come together and
Mm.
reason, why can't they also reason that we all should work, come together and not to give to this for 6,000 years and give to that 6,000 years? And
But
when this party eat this one, one will come and I mean it doesn't make sense.
No. The thing is, that is exactly what's meant to happen. What you have to realize is this: there are many infiltrators into different extraterrestrials. So, say for instance, as us as Africans, right?
Yeah,
Our cycle runs every 24,000 years. You see what I'm saying? Yeah,
yeah.
that's our cycle. Now you have within that cycle, there are many extraterrestrials, beings that will come in, and then what will happen is they will kind of like planet hop. They will come here illegally. Do you see what I'm saying? Yeah,
Hmm.
because the planet was actually quarantined, but they will come in illegally, okay, and they will cause havoc on the planet. They will mix
Meaning
genetics on the
we
planet.
don't have any immigration officer or policing or anything standing here so that everybody can come in
There is,
illegally.
there are, no,
So
no, no,
if
no, that's
there
what I'm
is,
saying.
if
Uh,
there is, why
yeah.
would they let them come in and do whatever they want to do?
But check this out, Nana. If you're saying that, what happens to cargo on the when people infiltrate and bring in narcotics, etc. People still do it because they
Yeah.
have ways to do it. You see what I'm saying? So you have extraterrestrials who have the ability to influence telepathically um children, some of their children on this planet. If you've been following our teachings, you know that there was a time when the children of the Elohim, for instance, or the Jibbarims, or the
Hmm.
beings that were cast down to this planet, the 200 fallen. So
Yes,
they've come,
yes.
they are on this planet and they have their children on this planet. Do you see what I'm saying? So most of the
Yeah.
time, their children are causing the havoc. Then you also have other beings that are being mentally influenced or guided to create things like the atomic bomb, or things that, or positive things to help nature or to counterbalance the negative. So you have all sorts of extraterrestrials and their children on the planet that are manipulating. So, like an example, what was given is like, for instance, Yakub's grafted devil. Yakub was so upset or angry. This is why we teach about learning to control your emotions and all of these things, because he was in that frame of mind and countenance, it allowed extraterrestrials known as the Pleiadians and the Aldebaran species to infiltrate his mind for him to create a grotesque type of being. You see what I'm saying? And he
Okay.
thinking that he was going to rule them for 6,000 years.
Okay, meaning this planet, this Earth, Mother Earth, or this planet, it doesn't belong to anybody, because if anybody can penetrate and come and do whatever they want and
Well,
still
it's not that they can do anything they want, it's how they do it. You see what I'm saying? They do it most of the time, they influence you mentally. So it's not like they come physically and say they'll influence, or they'll exchange something for something. Like in 1950s when they came to Truman and Eisenhower, who were the leading rulers at that time, okay? Because America was known as a superpower. They came to them and they offered them certain diseases that will cure diseases. Like they had a cure for polio, they had a cure for syphilis, they had a cure for AIDS, etc. When what they did was, these children of the Luciferians, they betrayed some of these extraterrestrials.
Mhm,
Understand? But
mhm.
ultimately, there's a supreme council that is responsible for this solar system. That is our ancestors, Panatharu. Now, Panatharu, they police the universe, and they
Mhm.
they watch and guide. You see what I'm saying? Only at a critical point is when they will intervene. What do I mean by a critical point? You know when they dropped the bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki?
Yeah, yeah.
That's the critical point. Why is it a critical point? Because atoms cause a chain reaction. When you drop an atomic bomb, okay, on a planet, it can cause a chain reaction, which can actually cause a star holocaust. What does that mean in the grand scheme of things? That holocaust will pull in the sun, will pull all the planets into the sun. That sun will collapse and will affect the 19th galaxy where these beings reside, the Etherians reside. Do you see that
Okay,
there's a bigger
okay.
picture? You see what I'm
Mm.
saying? So they allowed their children to play about, mess about, etc. Just like how you as a parent will watch your child and you think, he's about to touch that fire. He's about to touch that fire. pull him away. No, don't touch that fire. You with me? So our ancestors, or who are the beings of nature, natural nature, they watch and see, and when there's a critical point where they have to intervene.
So why would it our ancestors would put us near to a fire when if they know we are kids we can play with fire? Why would they put us near to a fire and then
they haven't
and
put us
say play
near,
around,
they haven't
play
put us
around?
near to a fire.
Because you
It's
just
like,
said it. You was making an example.
no, they
When you
didn't put you near. No, I didn't say they put you near to a fire. I'm saying as a child, you're curious, aren't you? So
yeah.
you get close to things that are harmful. Do you understand? And that's when your parent will pull you away or call you away and say, this is dangerous. Don't do it anymore. But I'm using that as an analogy to say that extraterrestrials, some of them, they do it on purpose and for a reason. And their reason is to cause the children of the Natharu, okay, to become domicile, where they're no longer utilizing their higher powers and higher abilities. And that's happened for the last 6,000 years when we were placed under this spell. That happened also when our barothry gland was removed and we mixed in with those beings. And what happened from that stage, our powers started to get weaker and weaker and weaker.
Meaning we allowed it, and our ancestors was
Yes,
also watching that we will allow ourselves for us to be
because
weaker and weaker.
yeah, because there's a cycle. What you have to
Okay.
realize about Panataru, they don't intervene when things like that are taking place because they know that there's a cycle and they can't interfere with
Okay.
they don't interfere with cycles. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, because they're about natural nature. So let nature take its course. But if it gets to the point where it's a critical level event,
Then they will step in. Okay.
then they will step in. And so right now, the 24,000 years has come back around and they've sent a warner to step in because where we're going towards now, we're going towards that star holocaust. You see what I'm saying? You know, and that's why he's explained that there's 144,000, even though it's written in all different religious texts, etc. But those 100, because other races do speak about the 144,000. This 144,000 is a set number that was required to be lifted off the planet so that the reseeding can take place again. And this planet will be refilled again. Just like in the days of what they refer to as the Noah
dinosaur
story, the dinosaurs,
yeah.
etc. Exactly. Because you know the reason why the dinosaurs is because they were killing humans on the planet. They were basically massacring. They were growing out of proportion. Exactly. So then the elders had to send a meteorite shower to obliterate them and start again. And they
Man,
do this.
this is taking a long time. They better do it right now because this
Do you know why it's taking a long time? Because in your time frame and time scale, yeah, it seems like a long time. But think of a being that lives on Saturn or Jupiter. Their 165 days is 1 year. You see what I'm saying? So a being that comes from a star system that is millions of light years away, their one trip around the galaxy is like 1 year.
wow.
Exactly.
Wow.
That's right. So if you look at, for instance, the master explained about Nibiru. Nibiru has a cycle of 3,600 years. Is that right? So that's 1 year to them. But to us, those 2 years of the 3,000, that's 2 cycles, that's 7,200 years. That's for us is eternal. For an ant, it's super eternal. You know, if you compare an ant to a human being, you know, an ant will be looking at you like, man, that being's eternal because for me to walk from here to the end of that island, that's going to take me years. But to use like 10 seconds.
Yeah. Yeah.
See what I'm saying? So when they come back, they're going to see all this devastation. They're like, oh my goodness, we left them and now look at the state of the planet. So we have to remove them now because they're going to, if they continue in this path, they're going to cause a star holocaust. So we have to lift our children off here. Now, our children are now mixed in with so many other species since we left them. We have to send somebody to surgically do alterations on them. But it can't be, you know, doctor can't just go in with a tool and start hacking away.
No, no, no,
Because
no, no,
yeah,
no.
he has to
Yeah.
surgically go in, find what the problem is, and drip feed and do it, meticulously so he can then get you to be healed. This is
Mhm.
what Kana Babyanon has been doing for the past 50 years. It's
I've
surgically.
been listening to him. I've been
Mm,
since I joined Wu-Sabat. Man,
okay.
I get addicted, man. Dry every
That's
time,
good. That's good.
every time.
Praises to
Because
Barnabas. It's true.
yeah, because
Yeah. So
if there's something we have to do to get him out, I mean, this is the time that
but he said,
we
Nana, y'all, he said it. Unity is keep saying love and unity will free me. That's the two most simplest but yet hardest task for humans to comprehend. Because in that love and unity, and I'm not talking about love for oneself. I'm talking about love as an unconditional. The word is ashok, yeah, as
Mhm.
unconditional love, where you will practice that love for a brother and a sister, etc., without thinking if I do something for them, what am I going to get in return?
Yeah, yeah,
You with me?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
that unconditional love that we need to get to. So when you look at what he's done for us, he's shown us nothing but unconditional love because he sacrificed his time. He could have been with his children. You know what I mean? His children have hardly seen him.
Yeah, yeah.
So so you think about in those levels where you don't see your children, your children resent you, but you know that you have a job to do, and you got to fulfill this job because there's other much more bigger things at stake. Try and
Mm,
walk in his shoes. You know what I mean? So,
mm.
this is what we're doing. So, as his students, who have been slowly raised up in degrees, as his students, and also, I'm not just talking about me standing here as a student teacher teaching. I'm talking about as his students, those children who are of the Nataru.
Mhm.
Okay, those are all his students. As he says, remember when he look when he starts his the writings, it's here. Lekum, my beloved, Nuwapu Haradu, Nuwapian children of Wu Nuwap. He always starts off like that. And if you read the Pataraks, he's always saying, my children. Yeah? That we are his children. So he has to teach us like how you as a father, if you are a father, do you know what I mean, will
Mm.
try and teach your children. You
Yeah,
won't, sometimes you'll admonish them and
yeah,
chastise them, but
yeah.
then there's times when you have to show that love and understanding and patience. And this is what he's been doing with us.
Wow,
Yeah, yeah,
wow.
yeah. That's
All right,
that's that's
all
what
right,
I think
all
too.
right.
Like,
No.
yeah, yes, my brother. Sorry, is that it? Yeah, no, yeah, because I have a question in the store.
Yeah, yeah. That's fine. That's fine. I mean,
Okay,
I'll
okay.
keep. Yeah. Thank you.
We'll touch up anyway because I know we got to talk. So,
Okay. Okay.
So
All right.
the Malachi is you?
sorry.
Like, how old is he?
How old is he? 79 now? 80. 80.
He's 80, so he ain't got much. So obviously, in human form,
In
he's got
human
like
form,
900 years minutes on average.
120.
120.
Yeah. That's how long a master is
Alright.
to live for.
So wherever he's come from,
Hmm.
why don't they bring someone else? Because you just said to me,
Yeah.
sorry, I can't get my head around it 'cause I need
Yeah.
to know all the facts.
Yeah, go on.
So it's
Mhm.
hard for me to understand how he's a supreme being,
Yeah.
but there's a chance that we might not, like, we might fail him. That don't make no sense.
We know that. We know it don't make no sense. That's why we're out there, my brother. Because we're
Yeah,
out.
we might just fail. It don't matter. Like,
But
there might be
failure's not an option. Do you know what? Failure's
No,
not
no,
an option.
no, sorry.
Because it's in your fate.
No, but let me land. So there
Yeah.
might be other ETs that have powers, like you said, to go through and say, you know what, we're gonna make them fail.
No, yeah, that's right. They will do everything.
Exactly. So
That's
we
right,
might
yeah.
just fail.
No, Michael never fails. That's the angel Michael. You know what the angel Michael. Put it this way. Are you of your ancestors? Yes or no?
I like to think so, yeah.
Okay. Your ancestors are supreme beings. So if you accept that reality and that you are, apart from flesh, you are supreme being, you're a 9-dimensional being.
Yeah.
If you start to learn to think like that and behave like that, other beings will respect you and step out your way.
Right.
But how many of us now are wearing our crowns and are wearing our garbs and are wearing, do you see when symbols are a powerful thing, That's why we wear the black and gold. The master gave us black and gold for a reason. Go and study what black and gold represents in symbolism and clothes and attire. It represents power.
Give us all that power, man.
It's in you. When a person puts on this, go and study about uniforms. when a police officer puts on a uniform, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, they just have this authority, and then other people step out. A doctor wears a white suit. All of a sudden, everyone bows down to the doctor. It's all about what you wear in your symbolism and what you portray. So if you're wearing, you are a noble, you're from a nobility. Your ancestors are noble beings that came from a Sirius star system and incarnated here on this planet and left their children here. And by way of them, they guide you and they feed you by way of you see I don't know if you're familiar with the etheric part of you. Okay, so you have your soul, you have your spirit. Okay, these are different variations and aspects of your being. The etheric part of you, the etheric counterpart, that's the real you. What you're operating on is on the laws and rules of this planet. So that's why you're governed by the skin suit that you're in. But the true essence of you is your etheric being. And you activate your etheric being. Once you're able to activate that God, when it comes awake, yeah, and has no fear, that's where he's taken us to, where we have no fear. We are the next beings on this planet that's supposed to rule. You can't rule with fear. Yeah. So it's a gradual step. Not everybody's gonna gravitate towards this because it's not gonna resonate with their DNA. They may have DNA or ancestors that are suppressing them. Trust me, we're on the street, so we know. We were talking to people. They're like, yeah, but we told one lady, she was a doctor, that was last week. But we're gods. No, you can't be gods. You can't be gods, but we are because we create things.
Yeah,
You see what I'm saying? But that forces that are in us are suppressing the true essence of who you are. Until you're able to really recognize who you are, it's a journey and a task. You see what I'm saying? Because you're getting bombarded left, right, and center by so many distractions. Do you know what I mean? Because as you're walking, you're an entity that receives and sends. You're like a radio. You know, you send and receive messages all the time. And your subconscious mind and your DNA and your RNA is constantly recording what you are experiencing in your environment. So if you're experiencing these things in your environment where certain influences come in and embed themselves in your psyche, and then you're battling, why is this, or you're doubting this and you're doubting that, or you're not motivated to want to become something, or you're fear, or you're afraid of changing. Because most of us, I'll give you an example. Being in Wu-Sabat, when I first started, this was my journey. I was afraid of what people may think of me, if I make this transition, if I close the door behind and open a new door. Do you know what I mean? How am I going to looked upon when I start speaking Wu-Sabat or Miss Batia, and all of these was all doubts and fears and anxieties in my mind. Then I said, you know what? I've got my ancestors. I'm going to make a conscious decision, just what I'm saying, to rule my mind. This is what you have to need, is the self-affirmation of yourself. I'm going to make that conscious decision to become a supreme being. I'm going to make a conscious decision to start wearing my cultural clothes. I'm going to make a conscious decision to speak Wu-Sabat or Miss Batia. And then that's when the doorway to your etheric being starts to open. You
Last
understand?
question.
Yeah.
So when he was born, when
Yes.
did he know that he was this person from the planet?
He didn't know until the age of 45, actually.
So who told?
So what it was is, he was told much earlier, but he was a rebel. If you go study his teachings and his sister, he was a rebel. He refused to accept that he was this being. There's My Brother the Extraterrestrial is a book you can try and get. The Proof is another one. I can't remember another book, but Man from Planet Risk, where he basically, when he was told there's a man that he was seeing when he was younger, because we went through a transition of religion, you know that, right? We went through Islam, Christianity. Right. So when he was younger, he was taken to State Street to a man called Sheikh Dawood. Yeah, Sheikh Dawood was one of his mentors. And he told him, because of the things that he had written his first book when he was 13. Yeah. And when Sheikh Dawood read it, he's like, you're the being that's gonna, but he didn't accept it. You know, when you're told something, you don't really want to accept that this is who you are.
So who shaped the hood?
Sheikh Dawood was a very popular figure in the 70s and 80s who was running a mosque in
Yeah.
State Street, New York, yeah.
But
So
then how does he know that this man is the? Sorry, I need to.
no,
it's not games.
no. You did. Sheikh Dawood was like a well-learned person in esoteric information, etc. He was in touch with certain elders, the Sufis, etc. So he was in the mystic schools. You understand?
Okay.
So they're always in the mystic schools. They know of a being called Al-Khadir in the mystic schools. Yeah, if you go to any Sufi order, etc., and you say Al-Khadir, they'll be like, oh, the green one, they'll know who you're talking about. So let me finish.
Sorry.
So
Beg your pardon.
being that he knew this certain indicators, let's just say, of what a being supposed to do, he knew that was that child. So he nurtured him. He, gave him certain information. He gave him certain scrolls. He said that study this. Even then, he didn't really want to know. You see what I'm saying? He gave him information about the nation of Islam. There's a person called Mustafa Muhammad. I don't know if you don't even know that story. Yeah, but no, there's three. There was three Mustafa Muhammads. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, exactly. But I'm saying that he gave him all this information. He's still kind of like, I don't want to know. Yeah, until he even had his abductions. He had abductions when from the age of 4 he was being abducted. All confirmed. His sister and his brothers all confirmed. He used to disappear for days. Yeah, and then he used to come back and he'd be telling them, I got taken away. They'll beat him. They'll beat him because they thought he was lying. You understand? But he used to have nosebleeds, etc. He had an implant in him. So all this time, these extraterrestrials, there was 3 of them known as actually there was 4, wasn't it? And then 1 died. But 3 of them that come to him constantly, okay? And they were giving him guidance and teaching him that you are that child that's going to be who you're supposed to be. So I think at the age of 19 or between the age of 19 and 25, he traveled. Because remember, his family parentage, I don't know if you know the story, but his family parentage is from Sudan.
Yeah,
and etc. Yeah, so he traveled there. He went to university and all of that kind of stuff. And all through that time, he's still been abducted. There's actually a tape called Malachi's Abduction. You listen to that lecture, what I'm saying is on there. Do you know what I mean? And to the point where when the being himself, known as Yanun, came out and told him who he was, that you got a big, massive job ahead of you, basically. You are going to be the savior to your race. He's like, he talking about me? I can't do this. He said, don't worry. Anytime you need me, I will be there. And then the journey started. Then that's when he started writing pamphlets, and these pamphlets became the pamphlets of peace. And from the pamphlets of peace, he started writing the God series, and all of these different books will come out and printing them and walking from what's it called? The island. What's it called? State Street. From State Street all the way to Brooklyn or something like that. Yeah, basically 10 miles. They used to walk every day, 10 miles, giving out pamphlets of peace. You see what I'm saying? In their jalabia, wearing nose rings, because at that time they used to have nose rings, playing African drums and all of that kind of stuff, because he was teaching Wu-Sabat, but in a way where it was covered, camouflage, because at the time, a lot of us were really into Islam and Christianity. So they had to kind of like coat it in a way and give it in a way where it could administer the medicine. And as time went on, he started revealing. He wrote a book called What is Nuwapu, The Mechanics of the Mind, all of these kind of books. This was written in the 70s, and then got to the point where from 1990 onwards, he started writing the Supreme Mathematics books. And those that's when he started introducing us to extraterrestrials and what they're about, and the beings within the earth and the caverns, etc. And then the holy tablets came out, you see what I'm saying, to kind of like seal everything and show you that this is actually the Adamites' books. It's nothing to do with you. We are now going into out formation. And that's when 2002 and beyond, he got incarcerated. But again, that was a divine plan. That was a plan because he knew what was going to happen. How it was going to happen, that wasn't given to him, but he knew he was going to be taken and put into a prison, etc., etc. Understand? They told him all of this.
Can we visit him?
No, we can't visit. Only his legal team can visit him and his wives. maximum, super AdMax.
That's the worst.
That's the
in
worst
world.
person, exactly. He's 25, 23 hours maximum.
So you can't get no visit.
He does, by his, not by us. No, we can't go and visit him.
So how do you lot like converse with him, or like if you got a question?
We have ways. He's got access to some of the, I think if his right is internet now, he's got access to certain things. So he can write, but he only writes to his legal team, etc. Yeah,
All right, thank you.
that's right, my bro. Any other questions online or Clubhouse, Zoom, in about my system? Yeah. Okay. Think everyone knows Partner Babianu now. Yeah, it's a long walk. Because it's a long walk on a short path. Is that right? Whoosh. Read it to you. Let me read this for you. Okay, it's called The Bridge Towards Salvation. Ania mumra mukhradu shalil Wu-Sabat. And kum atir pa mikshar laye pa mukhradu shalil pa taklus. My beloved children of Wu-Sabat, you are the bridge toward the children of the salvation. I, Yanun, have incarnated with Pa Shafei, the cure to the people's ignorance with Wu-Sabat. And you, the children of Wu-Sabat, as Musbatu Sabians, are Pa Mutmal'u, the doctors, Pa Mubugab'u, the messengers, Pa Mukhlasu, the saviors. Take this Shafei cure and break the spell of Kingu, Leviathan. I'll stop there. So that's our job. We have to teach everybody so we can break the spell. Because once the spell's broken, then the quarantine on this planet gets removed, and they remove those entities off this planet, those ones that are causing all this havoc. But we need to work together, come together. Okay. Yes, my bro. There's a question online. Okay. Oh, okay.
It says, how do you know or clear your children of negative forces possession?
Well, where? Is that from Jackie? Because Jackie's got a hand up as well.
Now that is that Michelle?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Michelle answers, and also Sister Michelle, I'll see you. And Jackie, I'll get to you, okay, afterwards. Right. So how do you clear your children of possession and stuff? Is that correct?
And
That
negative
mainly-
forces.
And negative forces. Okay, we've got certain spiritual chants and that we say. We also have certain herbs that you can burn, Palo Santo or sage. Okay, and what this does, it weakens the etheric energy that's in the environment. Also calling on your ancestors, the positive ones, and doing the chant, which is known as protecting you from negative forces, is in one of our chants. So you have to teach your children this. Also, actually teaching your children Wu-Sabat on a day-to-day basis, living Wu-Sabat on a day-to-day basis, it transforms you, it recalibrates you. So what it's doing is each cell in your body is a field of energy. And that field of energy, as you practice this information, it resonates and it starts to permeate through your being. So your aura starts to change. And that color of your aura, beings cannot then penetrate through. Because remember, everything has to resonate. So if you're in a negative state, beings that are on that vibration resonate with you and will then move into your space. It has to be on the equilibrium. Yeah, so that's the same thing with your children. If you're teaching your children, teach them their chants. I don't know what stage you are at the moment, Sister Michelle, but teach your children the chants. Teach them the children about positive affirmations to say before they go to bed, etc. All of these things is enhancing their polarity and their aura. Okay, and that's one of the ways to actually protect themselves and their mind. Teach them about their ancestors, to show them images of their ancestors, because what it's doing is it allowing the ancestors to visit them in their dreams and in their minds, etc. I know it sounds far-fetched, but until you start to actually appreciate the reality that images, words, etc. have power, and that's what we have to do for your children. You know, teach them about who they are, and that instills in them that pride, etc. Okay, I hope that helps.
There's another part to that.
Okay, well, wait, go ahead.
She now asked, are you saying we're having living entities around us?
Constantly. We constantly have entities in light bulbs because they can ride on waves of energy, music entities. You have different beings on different vibrational frequencies. Yeah, so what we have to do is resonate on the vibrational frequency which we've been given as the F, A, and C. Okay, that's natural nature's tones for us as Nagari. And when we vibrate in or resonate on that frequency, natural nature protects you. Yeah, you do have a natural nature protection. Your ancestors protect you. Okay, is that it?
And she also asked, can you feel them touching you?
It depends how sensitive you are. It depends how sensitive your aura is, etc. As you raise up in degrees of frequency and positive energy, depending on if you are a highly spiritual being, you can feel beings that can actually, they can touch you, etc. And beings can also touch you because what the masters explain is that you have specters, and one of the things about specters is that you see these light bulbs. Many of us have them in our homes, they're LED light bulbs. Master teacher explained that these light bulbs, they attract specters to your house, to your home. So it's best to have certain things in place in order to actually, how can I protect yourself or dampen their energy, for them getting stronger. So, the burning of the sage, incense, etc., it won't allow them to be as strong in the atmosphere. But LED light bulbs is specifically done for that, to attract specters. Okay, so just keep that in mind. And so yeah, it's about that. Have I answered the question?
Talk.
Well,
From someone else. I don't know if we had anyone else before.
We got Sister Jackie, and then we'll come back. Tua, double tap. Yeah, so the other protections is your mirror. If you have mirrors in your home, you face the mirror toward the outside. Okay. So you have the reflection part facing towards the outside. Again, that's another way of keeping them away from coming into your home. Also, salt water. Yeah, so if you have salt water, you place them in the corners of your house. That also weakens negative spirit forces as well.
So the mirror is where you face it.
Yeah, so the reflecting part of the mirror where you see your image, you've turned it to face outside. You with me? To face the outside. Yeah, so if you've got the mirror, just say imagine it's the mirror, yeah. So you face it towards the window that way, going.
Oh, outside of the house.
Outside of the house,
Sorry.
yeah.
Okay, outside of the house. Okay.
Right? And that way it stops them coming into, because it's like a portal. You see what I'm saying? No, for real. I know what you're saying.
Don't have people that feel this.
No. Yes, Emma?
To add to that, also your wardrobe, the mirrors, you have to cover it. If it's a portrait,
Yeah, cover your mirrors, yeah. Okay, so these are things, I mean, some of them may seem like old wives' tales, but then there's essence of truth or facts in them. Okay. Sister Jackie, and then I see you, Zamalta. Okay. Yes, Sister Jackie, you have a question?
Yeah, Rahubat.
Rahubat.
Okay, so the other day I was listening to a video and I didn't realize that the spirit and the soul are separate.
Okay.
I didn't, it's like it's so confusing when you're in the Christianity.
Yeah.
You're in the church, but you're not understanding exactly. So anyway, that was interesting to me. And then, so at what point do they separate? Do they separate, or are they always together, the spirit and the soul?
Okay, this is how it's been explained. So you do have spirit and soul, and not everybody has a soul. So everybody can have a spirit, but not a soul. Now, if you do have both components of your being, at the point of death, the soul will wait for the spirit to it will separate at that point, and you'll be separated for a period of 70 days, I believe, with the master teacher. Is that 70 days? Yeah, 60 to 70 days. And then what will happen is that your spiritual essence will go for orientation while your soul awaits your orientation and preparation. Okay. And then the two will merge or marry together for the next journey that you're about to take. But if you haven't strengthened your spirit, it won't have the necessary enough energy to actually link with your soul. And then your soul will have to move on by itself, which is actually a loss. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. So what is
Yeah.
the spirit? What is the spirit? What
Yeah.
is the soul?
So your spirit is there's in Wu-Sabat we teach about two. You have your spirit, and then you have your what is referred to as your ka'a, and then you have your nafs. Okay? So you have two. One is your conscious side of you, and the other part is the electric energy that feeds and gives you animation. And that the first one, which is known as the nafs, that is at the spark of when you're conceived. Okay, so when the egg and the sperm come together, there's an electrical spark. You can actually go and research this. There's what the scientists call a zinc spark. There's actually a zinc spark between the egg and the sperm. You can actually see like a massive explosion. Yeah, and then that's the birth of the spirit. Okay. Now the other part, the ka'a, which is the conscious aspect of you, that's always existed. And what happens is it incarnates or comes through your mother, but because it's connected to your ancestors who reside in the different realms or different dimensions. So your spirit is basically linked to your ancestors. And the other portion of spirit, which is known as the nafs, is born, that becomes your personality, etc., as you grow. So the spirit part of you will grow with you and becomes your personality. And then you have the other part, which is your conscious being. Okay? That's the two spirits. Then you have the ba'a, and then you have the rawa. Okay? The ba'a is the other part of your conscious creative side. That's what gives you the ability to be creative and emotional being. Okay, that's your ba'a. Then you have your rawa, which is the breath of life. Okay, so that's the breath of life when your lungs kick in and that continues the burning. Okay, that burning that you have when you're, in your mother's womb, and also when you come out and that breath of life of energy and heat, that's your rawa. Okay, that's what sparks you going and living and existing in this realm. Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah, all of this so far is the spirit.
No, there's two spirits, the nafs and the ka'a.
Uh-huh.
And then you have your soul. There's two components of soul.
Okay.
There's the ba'a
Okay.
and the rawa.
Okay.
Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Now, so the one that will depart and move on to higher realms, that's the ba'a.
Upon death, that would happen.
Exactly. And that is used, if you go into ancient Egypt, there's a bird that is shown as a stork, okay, which is a transmigratory creature. So that's why in ancient Egypt, for instance, our ancestors used the stork or a representation of a bird, because a bird transmigrates. It migrates to other realms or other places. So they use that to represent the soul. Okay. So if in case you wanted to go and study part of the symbolisms of our ancestors, that's what it symbolizes
Okay.
or represents. Okay.
Okay. One other question.
Mm.
I'm just understanding a little about MS, multiple sclerosis,
Okay.
and I'm wondering if you know of any healing for that.
I
Oh,
personally don't, but we do have holistic healers in our community.
oh,
You'd have to, there's a brother called Het Was Hutip, who's on Instagram. He's a herbalist and he's very, very good and knows his herbs very well. There's another sister, can you remember her name? Is it the one in Northumberland? The one that wrote a book? And she's a phlebologist. She's like,
what, what is that brother's contact?
you can
Oh,
find it
oh,
on Instagram.
okay.
I'll try and are you on our site, our Kayat site, Wu-Sabat Kayat? Nashat.
I'm on the Telegram.
You're on the Telegram. Are you on OSM?
Yes.
Okay, I'll try and post it in there, the brother's link. But he's a very good he's like into all the herbs and he'll tell you what's this for that, etc. So he's a very good herbalist. And he does sell online and you can distribute it to wherever you are. So I'll get his details and post it, yeah?
All right, thank you.
That's okay, you're most welcome. Questions? Oh, I've got a few. I've got Broderick. And then we'll go start with Broderick and go back to Sister Michelle. Okay, so Broderick, you have a question? Rahobat, Broderick? No? Okay, we'll leave Broderick and we'll come back to Sister. Sister Michelle, you have a question? No question. Okay, Yvonne, go ahead. We'll wait for those two. Yep, go ahead. The SMAT circle.
So it's been right now for a very long time, and it's trying to teach me. I have a question.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Oh,
Can you hear me?
hold on, we can hear you, but I've got a question online.
Can you hear me?
We'll get back to you. We'll get back to you. We just got a question online. Yeah, sorry.
Sorry, can you hear me?
1 second, Sister Yvonne. Who's speaking? Okay. Sister Yvonne, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, but I've got a question online.
Can you hear me?
We'll get back to you. It's delayed, isn't it? It's delayed. Just got a question online. Yeah, sorry.
Sorry, can you hear me?
1 second. Are you to mute? Who's speaking?
What's the plan today?
No audio on Zoom.
Right. Can I be heard now?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Zamaltat. Zamaltat, we've lost you, Yvonne. Oh, the beauty of technology. Yeah.
Jamal, I'm not sure if you're aware there are questions in the chat as well. So when you finish,
which ones am I on Zoom or Clubhouse?
Zoom, Jamal.
Okay, Tautak. Right, let's go to the questions and because yes, Zamaltak. I'm just gonna go to one of the questions and then I'll come to you. Where are we? Chat. Oh, quite a few questions actually. Hold on. Right. How do I become a part of the community? I've started from Broderick Foreman because I think I may have probably lost the other messages. So, yes, how do I become a part of the community and movement? Where do I start? Broderick, if you've been reading, yes, Zamal.
Jamal already answered that one.
Oh, you've answered. Okay.
given the links and everything in the chat, but there are questions after that.
Okay, I'm extremely new to all of this and have so many questions, but having trouble formulating them, okay? That's okay, take your time. Can we get caught up with mushrooms, please? That's Broderick again, that makes sense. Darren LeBaron and kindly, how to join. My questions are so scrambled. I agree with mixed breed causing problem for us to progress a specific righteous objective collectively. What are the recommended information? I guess I can start there and maybe my questions will be answered or formed. Do you think Jamaicans are aliens, destructive, volatile breed? Sorry, I'm not laughing. I'm laughing. I'm not. It's just a funny question, Michelle. Do you know what? Jamaicans are from obviously main parts of Jamaica are West Africa. Okay. Unfortunately, being taken and kidnapped and brought to another place where the mental state of our people has been so downgraded, you see what I'm saying, that we are now becoming our worst enemy and killing each other. You with me? So it's not like Jamaicans as such, because we are one race, we're one being. And it's not about Jamaica, it's not about Trinidad, it's not about Ghana, it's not about Sierra Leone or Senegal, etc. It's about us as a race, because what we teach in Wu-Sabat is that a race's essence, okay, is connected to their what is known as the morphic genetic field, okay, the morphic field. And we have to realize that that morphic field, every part of us feeds into that. So as much as what's taking place where we're affecting each other and killing each other, etc., it's affecting all of us. And we have to learn to start re-educating ourselves so that we can start having love of self and love of each other. And when I look at you, I don't just see a brother or a sister. I see more than that. Do you know what I'm saying? I see the love, not just because you're a dark-skinned brother, and it goes a bit more deeper. And this is where we need to get to, you know what I mean? Appreciating each other, learning to trust each other, those kind of things. So that destructive, volatile nature can then be weeded out, because if once we start to re-educate ourselves about who we are, we all start to love ourselves and look after each other. And then we can remove these negative stereotypes that we have about ourselves. Okay, I hope that answers the question, because not really much to go into, do you know what I mean? But they're not aliens. How do I know whose child I am? I know this may sound so juvenile. Depends what you're referring to when you say whose child you are. Because if you're a child of the Panataru, or you're a child of your parents, you mean, or if you're adopted, I don't know what your question you're asking there. So can you be more specific? What are the best books I need to buy to learn? We always say, always choose a book that resonates with you. When you look at the book and you've read the first few lines maybe, and it resonates with you, then that's the book. We can't say this is specifically is good for you, because you might pick it up and you might be reading all scientific stuff and it may be too much for you to take in. You see what I'm saying? It may be something more about your culture or your heritage or your ancestors. But Wu-Sabat is a scientific doctrine. So you're gonna learn science in all the books that you read. You with me? But I can't say specifically take this book and it's gonna open up all the answers for you, because there's many titles. There's the Black Dot Matrix, for instance. You with me? That's this book here, The Master Secrets. You got Salvation, which is Patankaz. Okay, that's this book here. Then you have Patarak, is the mind's eye. So whatever really you gravitate towards, and then you pick up the book and you read it, and then if it makes sense, then by all means, you process it and ask your questions and then move on to the notes. So I can't say, yeah, this is a specific book that you should write, sorry, you should read. I'll do one more question and I'll come to you, sister. Yeah. I'm just starting out and I would like to learn more. What books on the website should I buy to get? Again, same answer for the above. Okay, right. Zamalta, question to you.
question is just going back on the mirrors being portals.
Okay.
Is it always disagreeable beings that can come through those portals?
No,
Can
no.
agreeable beings come through
No.
as well?
It's any being can come from the portals.
Okay.
Yeah. It's what we say is one of the things we teach is obviously set up your altar. Have you ever had an opportunity to set up an altar?
We're working.
Yeah. I mean, okay, in time, in due time,
Yeah.
you know. But once you set up an altar, that's an actual portal. You see what I'm saying? But these are actually portals that beings can manipulate. That's why it's good to keep it facing outside.
Right.
Because if they try to come through, they're gonna go straight out. You with me?
Right.
Yeah. So that's the reason. But yeah, any entity can come. What is explained is what they call the witching hour, the
Yeah.
time of 3 a.m.
Yeah.
That's when a lot of activity because beings are crossing over to the other
Yes,
side
okay.
and coming in. In a sense,
Yeah.
yes, yeah.
And then I guess just leading on from that,
Mhm.
our baby has, just as you were saying earlier, in terms of like spirits coming in, beings coming in
Mhm.
to your home,
Mhm.
our daughter has, so we'll put on Dr. Z York's meditation
Okay.
on OSM Vision,
Okay.
and we've noticed that she started to copy the
Okay.
own,
Okay.
which is great. And then sometimes what she'll do is like she'll leave one room,
Right.
go and she'll sit down in front. She's 20 months old, by the way.
Okay.
And she'll sit down in front of the mirror.
Mm.
And then it seems to us as we observe her that she's having what always seems like a very joyful, playful
Okay.
conversation, which is why I asked,
Okay.
is it always disagreeable or
No,
agreeable?
not at all.
Got that
Yeah,
straight
yeah,
out.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so
No, what's explained again? My sister had this actually. My sister had what they call imaginary friends. Partner Babylon had imaginary friends.
okay.
You with me? Those were basically the beings that were being with him since he was a child. But these imaginary friends are literally relatives.
Mm.
And they will come around the child, they'll play with the child, you see what I'm saying? And the child will obviously give them these certain names. You with me? And those names will stick. But unbeknown is that they're protecting, playing with us. Because remember, our children are still in that realm.
Mm.
And when it starts to slow down, is by the time they reach the age of 7, that's when it starts to slow, and the imagination and other things kick in. But yeah, that's essentially what potentially could be. I couldn't say that's what's happening because
Yeah.
do you know what I mean? But
Yeah,
that's
so
what the
we'll-
masters explain.
And then just back on the salt water in the corners of the room,
Mm.
why?
Again, salt water. What?
Salt.
Salt. Sorry,
Just
salt.
salt,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. Salt. I mean, I beg your pardon. Yes, salt. The ionic content of salt is ions, and these ions, there's certain polarities that are released. Do you see what I'm saying? And it weakens
Okay.
certain entities. Yeah, because entities work off. There's always what they do. Beings will initially, in order to enter into this realm, they create fear. You with me? And that fear is that they exist in an etheric state, but the etheric state has to manifest into the physical. So they're acquiring currents that are in the atmosphere. And one of the currents is coming off of you. So the currents that's coming off the salt, it has a polarity where it weakens them so they don't get strong in the atmosphere.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
And the more they get stronger in the atmosphere, the more they're able to execute things like turning on light switches, or you may hear a bang or something may drop. That's them getting stronger because the fear that they feed off is coming from you. You give an electrical energy. See what I'm saying? Yeah. Okay. That's beautiful. I have King Kai. King Kai, who wants to say something? I'm going to invite you to speak, King Kai. No? Okay, all right. Any other questions? Okay, well, there's a few questions on the chat. It's the time, okay. How do you know or clear your children of negative forces? Okay, so we've done that. Being a black man, what God do I pray to and serve? Okay. Being a black man, if you're talking, what we teach is that when you're saying black man, if you're referring to African, because being the word black can also describe a Dravidian, yeah, because Hindus are also black. So it depends on what context you're referring to. I'm hoping you're referring to the African race. And in that if you're referring to the African race, we don't pray to any god because what we teach and I've always taught in our culture is that we are the gods. Okay, that was prayed to. Other beings prayed to us and venerated us, and then eventually they became whitewashed and they became your Jesus, etc. All right, so we don't pray to any god, and we don't serve any god. You understand? We give reverence. You with me to natural nature, i.e., what we did was, for instance, the sun is the most powerful force that gives life to this planet. Okay, it gives the wind and the sun's energy and the motions of the sea, etc. That's the sun. It gives vitality to the plants, which we take and consume as nutrients. That's the sun. All right. So in having knowledge and the reality that that's what the sun does, we revered it. We gave respect to it. And unbeknown to others of their own ignorance, thought that we were worshiping the sun. You understand? And now we know that we are miniature suns because of the fact that they tell us that we have solar. Yeah, they call it solar plexus. So we are miniature Etherians because that's what the sun essentially is. It's an etheric being. Yeah, it's an alive being. It thinks, it grows, it gives off energy, etc. It's an entity. And this sun, when we had an elder who had reached a certain height of knowledge, we refer to them as Reye, the one who knows, the one who's the most powerful, yeah, the one who could make things happen. Okay, and then that being would be known as Reye. So then we gave them their titles, Amun Reye, Atun Reye, etc., to donate that they were the highest being who gave us nourishment. Okay, and again, as I said, it got misinterpreted, and that Egyptians worship mythological gods and etc. etc. All nonsense because they didn't understand our spiritual sides. But yeah, that is essentially, so we as Nagaru or African race, we didn't worship, we didn't pray to anyone. Do you see what I'm saying? We give reverence and we give affirmation to our ancestors. And I don't know if you were here in the beginning, but we had our affirmation that we call on our ancestors to help guide us and protect us. Okay, because what we explain is that you are on a particular frequency, and that frequency has been just like a radio signal has been untuned of that frequency. And the whole point of doing these prayers and these chants and these meditations, etc., is to get back on that frequency. And that frequency that's when you pick up the information, just like a radio. You know, once you get all that, remove all that static, and then you get into that, you fine tune it until you get that sound that you're hearing, the music, etc. Like, you know, 95 point whatever. So this is basically essentially what we're doing. We're refining and retuning to the point where we can hear our ancestors, or we can hear, we can receive messages from them. You with me? And that includes the sun. The sun actually gives off waves of energy and information in the form of knowledge, okay, which we can process in our DNA. So I hope that helps. Are you saying we're having living entities around us? Yes, that's been explained. When you're okay, when you are so new, where do you begin? Rahuba Zaman, teacher. Regarding ancestors, what about people that have no connections to their family history because no information was disclosed? How is it possible for them to know and have access to their ancestors? So it's a good question because, you know, we do get that. I'm not gonna lie, it is difficult, but it's the activation of your DNA because your ancestors are in your DNA. So when Wu-Sabat is being nourished and given to you, the nourishment of Wu-Sabat and the practice of Wu-Sabat activates your ancestors. You may not know them by name, but you're still making a connection to them. And in some shape or form, they will be able to align themselves with you if you align yourselves with them. And the guidance will start. But you have to be diligent and you have to be patient. Yeah. So I can't say to you, you're going to know them overnight. I'm not going to promise you a miracle. Yeah. It's about you just diligently accepting the reality that they exist and they're there and waiting for you. You're going to have two different forms of ancestors. You're going to have the weak, the negative ones. You're going to have the positive ones. Both of them are going to reach out to you. Okay, so that again, I'm not going to sugarcoat. They'll both reach out to you. They'll both try to communicate to you, and you have to learn to discern the difference between the two. It's one leading you on path of destruction, and it's the other leading you on path of elevation. And you have to look at what your actions portray and what your actions do in order to discern which one it is. And then from there, you start to look at the synchronicities in nature. Look at the little significant details, sometimes taking time out to meditate and looking and re-evaluating things in your life. And you start to realize that there's messages that they give. So it's just a constant practice, you know what I mean? Self-awareness, positive living, meant a strong attitude to what you want to do, and it starts to work bit by bit. So unfortunately, I can't give you any more than that until something reveals itself to you, and you probably find that you may then meet somebody who knew your relatives, etc., etc., etc. So that's another thing that you have to do. Those affirmations, you put it out there in the universe. The ancestors, I don't know you. You know, I haven't been introduced to you. I never knew your names, but I know you're in me. I know, you know, so you have to start saying certain affirmations and let it connect with your true essence. And then the miracles will start. When I say miracles, I'm not talking about religious miracles. I'm talking about the miracles as in the sense that sometimes we ignore certain things which are miraculous because we don't think is important in our lives. But you know, just a simple thing was you're about to leave the house, you forgot your key, you go back in to get your key, and then down the road there was an accident. You see what I'm saying? Things like that, which you may take for granted. But there's a movie called The Adjustment Bureau that the master said to watch. And in that movie, it shows you that your ancestors walk with you and they will adjust things when it's necessary to keep you on that path. Because in the movie, this guy's his destiny is to become a senator, but he fell in love. That's just in the movie, yeah. So he's constantly trying to get this love and be with her, but they're like, no, you're supposed to become a senator. So that the example I'm giving is that your ancestors are there and they know your fate. They know what destiny you're supposed to be on. And they'll move certain obstacles. Sometimes they may move friends out of your way. Certain friends are toxic in your life. They will remove, you know, and you say, why does this person doesn't call me no more? You know, we used to be good friends, and now like they don't even call, they don't, you know, oh, have I offended them? You know, you start to question all of these things. That's because most of the time they're impeding in your growth. Yeah. So this is part of the little synchronicities, certain symbolisms you have to look for in your life. Okay. And then you start to see it work. All right. Going on. I know someone I can recommend. Greetings. Why do some Black people think they're Hebrews, and are they part of the Hyksos? Okay. The original Hebrews are dark skin with woolly hair. So let's just get that. Okay. The original Hebrews. What happened was there was an invasion of the Hyksos, Greeks, etc., that mixed in and took over that religion or that way of life, and it became their way. That's what happened. So I'm just going to cut it very short. So the Hyksos, they only lived in a certain part of Egypt. Okay, I think it's Goshen, if I'm right correctly. Can anyone correct me? Was it Avaris or somewhere like some? I can't remember the exact, but Avaris, isn't it? Yeah, Avaris. So they lived in a particular region. It wasn't the whole of Egypt. That's what another thing that the Prince of Egypt tries to depict. Like they lived in all of Egypt, but they didn't. They lived in a particular region. But those are known as the word Hyksos mean shepherd kings or rulers of something. I can't remember something shepherd kings. Yeah. Okay. But the original Hebrews, okay, are descendants of, obviously, as you know, Abraham, who was called a Hebrew, but Abraham was a Chaldean. So by logic, if you go and do your research on how the Chaldeans looked or how the Babylonians looked, okay, you see the phenotypes, you see the how they looked, how their hair was braided, etc. Now the Chaldeans, the Babylonians, the Akkadians are a mixture of Africans and Hindus who were in that region. Okay, and this was how after they migrated back into Egypt, that was the birth of the 46 dynasties. So the 46 dynasties was the birth of your that's when the Babylonian rulers or the Akkadian rulers came in under the names. Okay, and your first ruler was called Namir. Yeah, Namir was the first ruler of the 46 dynasty. The reason why 46, as Partner Babylon explained, is because it was dealing with the chromosomes. That's when the mixture started to take place. There was more mixing going on. So it was 23, 23, which gave you the 46, which is your 46 dynasties. Okay, and in between then, obviously, you had rulers that came from southern Egypt or Sudan, and they took over and they ruled. And part of that was them removing the Hyksos who had bred in with the Hebrews, which you call your Exodus story. Okay, that's your Exodus story. And those two rulers is Ahmos and Kamos, okay, which you know as your combined character Moses, okay, in your Bible. So, and this is where it's coming from. So the master teacher goes into it in the Black Book, and there's another lecture where he really goes into, I'm trying to remember the lecture, but he really ties it all in that lecture. I can't remember the name. I was listening to it the other day.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, I can't remember. Yeah, but it's a really good one. Yeah. Okay, so if you want any more further information on that, there's various information, master secrets now that goes into it about the Israelites or the Hebrews, etc. But yeah, there's because that mixture took place, your Canaanites, your Amorites, all the 11 tribes of Canaan, they mixed in with the original Hebrews or Israelites. And from that mixing in, they lost their covenants. So there was a covenant that was made with them. That covenant was made with Abraham, which was the covenant of flesh. And that covenant of flesh was basically that they would protect them if they were doing certain sacrifices or bringing the God of the Bible, that is. Okay, which will go into another whole breakdown. If you need me to explain that, I will. But essentially, the God of the Bible made a covenant with Abraham. That's what you know as the Berith Milah, which is the covenant of flesh. That's where they told Abraham to circumcise one of his sons, because it was actually a covenant where certain humans will be given over to these extraterrestrials who are really the gods of the Bible, who are flesh and blood drinkers or flesh eaters. Okay, but that goes into a whole different build, unless you need me to explain. But yeah, there are Chinese Jamaican. They are different. Okay, I don't. Michelle, maybe you might elaborate more on that. African American. How can I ask a question? Thank you, brother. How can you have a disagreeable ancestor when that person, when they were alive, supposed to be reincarnated into another body instead of being an ancestor? Okay, so the thing is, with that, ancestors don't just come back straight away, okay? There's an orientation that takes place, and there's a cycle that takes place. So when it's time for them, or when the child that is conceived, okay, there's an actual agreement that's made between the child in the etheric realm or the spiritual realm. There's agreement made for that child for that ancestor or spirit to incarnate into that child, because they have to be on the same resonant frequency. It's not just an ancestor who just come into the child, because the ancestor is linked to the mother and the father, but they come through the actual what book is it in? Do we have reflection and projection? Yeah, I'm gonna have to bear with me. I'll get it and then I'll read it to you. You go into my scanned copies. Files. Are there any questions while I look for this?
Jamal, you have a few hands up on Zoom and also a few questions in the chat.
Okay, let me just quickly find this, then I'll read it, and then we'll get to our questions because time will fly by. Okay, so this is it's called Actual Fact, Takus Wu Tabrus. That's known as reflection and projection. And in this book, on the 13th verse, page 3, I'll read out like this. The master explains it like this. The Ka'a, spirit, or the Ka'a'u, spirits within, are doing the work of deception. Verse 16. Your Manashu, parents, your own 27 inner DNA spirits of both sides of your Yasar family, one or more can set out to Rashush, deceive you, or other Ka'a'u spirits you welcome by opening up your Khatat body gate by way of desires or religious akadat beliefs of images of beings you believe exist. Verse 18. And the inner Ka'a'u spirits are not from outside you or the Tapal world of the dead, yet from right inside your Akal mind, because you create them just as you do when you are dreaming. Verse 19. This is the part, verse 19. Your own Nasabu relatives and the Shakhasu people, each of them took part in your mother's Raham womb. They entered by way of the blood into her Kalas placenta, which as a Tamtut matrix has small openings to allow a flow in and out of it. Your Muslafu ancestors' blood flowed in your mother and grew with you in her Raham womb and became part of you, even now passing on and affecting your Akal mind, Khatat body, and Ka'a spirit. Okay? So spirits are linked to a child by way of, blood. And when the mother's carrying, that agreement is made as to what spirit will possess or take over that child or live with that child until it grows. Okay, so that's what's taking place. So when an incarnation takes place, it all depends at what cycle and what time, and if the conditions are right for that spirit to come back. Okay, I hope that answers that question. One more question. Is there a book on the lifestyle of Wu-Sabat? All the books, all the books has information about the way we conduct ourselves. Okay, but if you're looking for a specific book, if you're male, is the Sabian Man or the Nawapian Man is called. And then for the sisters, is the Sacred Feminine. Okay, and that the Gospel of Yanun to the Sacred Feminine. So those would be the two books that would be like a guidance, because it gives you on the back of that, it gives you like certain things about how we should treat each other, marriage, relationships, etc. So that's in the Gospel Yanun to the Sacred Feminine. And in the Sabian Man or the Nawapian Man scroll, it actually gives you what a Sabian man is supposed to do and how he's supposed to conduct himself in society. Okay? That and what his responsibilities are. So you can seek out those two books. What was the name of the movie again? Which one? The Dark Crystal or what one did I mention? The Dark Crystal and the Adjustment Bureau. Yeah. Tautazma. What do you think of the Asset Society teachings for our salvation? Dr. Ranifir Amun, First Tree of Life. You'd have to ask them. Okay, we have Wu-Sabat, and Wu-Sabat is what we're practicing. We have someone who's been sent to us, a being that's been sent to us. I can't speak for them, unfortunately. Doesn't the word coven mean witch? Not that I'm familiar with. I think the word witch comes from the word Wicca, if I remember correctly. And that ties into the word wise. But I'll be guessing. So we don't guess. I'd have to check it out. But definitely not coven. I don't think it means coven. Can you check it out? Coven? Yeah. It's a coven of witches, isn't it? A coven, wouldn't that be like a group? Yeah, a group, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, that's what it means. Right. Jackie, you have a question?
Yes. Regarding the you said that we were gods, and what happened? How did we lose that?
Yeah. It's a coven of witches, isn't it?
Yeah, I've checked
I'm
already.
sorry.
Like a group.
Can you
Isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, that's what it
can
means.
you hear me okay?
So we're having delayed feedback on the class. So I beg your pardon, I apologize for that. I don't know why it's happening, but there's some kind of delay loop. Could you just put your question again, please, Jackie?
Yes.
Sorry.
So we were gods. You said we were gods in the beginning.
No, not we were. We are. It's just that we've forgotten who we are.
So what happened? Can you describe what happened, processes for us to lose that our memory on that? Yeah.
Our memories started to descend and dwindle after one mixing in and also the cycles. So each cycle that we went through, we've got dimensional shift. I'll read from dimensional shift. Okay.
So this was done intentional. Well, it was done intentional for us not to lose our.
You see what it is okay, I'll give it to you like this. Within the seasons of natural nature cycles, if you look at the seasons of the 4 seasons that they give you, spring, autumn, summer, and what's that one? Winter.
Winter. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You have liberty, and then you have I think brevity. I think one lives and one dies. Okay. So if you look at it like this, where we were in the winter cycle of our existence, where there was still life underground, but it hadn't been regenerated. So that's what starts to happen in spring. Spring is when regeneration takes place. And we as a race of people have been in a sleep state or in a slumber state or in a winter state the last 6,000 years. So now natural nature is thawing us off. Yeah, it's warming us and it's resurrecting us again back to the supreme state that we were. So if you look at it like that as a form of cycles, the cycles that we go through, we start to lose our mental faculties. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Yeah.
But I was just wondering if it was like planned, if that it was planned to
Well, it's
take us
nature's
down.
It's nature's plan, but
Mm,
what happens was other beings took opportunity.
mhm,
Yeah, they more like took opportunity and manipulated the situation.
mhm,
You see what I'm saying? Because of their nature. See,
mhm,
when they were created originally as because you got different species of Caucasians, right? So you had like beings that were originally here that were living in the mountains, and then beings that were grafted, okay, by way of the Adamites. Okay, so the original, like the Cro-Magnon and other beings that predate your Adamites, okay, they were originally here. So they weren't the original Caucasian race on the planet. It was later on that this grafted being, their mentality was destructive because of what they were created with. Does that make sense?
mhm,
Right? Now, what happened is your Bible story kind of like alludes to what type of mentality that they have. Because
mhm,
when you read it, it says Genesis 3:15, which is, remember, this is their book written for them, the Adamites. It said Genesis 3:15 says, and I will create enmity. If you're going to look up the word enmity, it means hatred. Yeah, so there's hatred towards a specific race or just different races on the planet apart from their own. Yeah, so there's enmity that was created within them. Then when you move further into Genesis chapter 6, it says it grieved in God's heart that the what's it called? The man's, how's it worded? Every day, there you go. The imagination of Adamites is evil continually. That's what it says in Genesis. I think it's chapter 6, verse 3 or something like that. Yeah. So it tells you the type of nature this particular being was going to have. Yeah. Their nature is destructive. But because of the cycles, as we were talking earlier, they had to play a part in the cycle. And the beings that were responsible for them gave them certain traits. One of their traits is warring. One of their traits is competition. One of their traits is killing, you see what I'm saying, and bloodlusting. That's within their traits, and that's part of their nature. So a big depiction of that is if you look at what they call the medieval times. Yeah, when you look at their images in the medieval times, it's all grotesque. It's like you've got monsters and you've got gargoyles and you've got people beheading, and it's just evil. Do you know what I'm saying? That was that. I mean, the term itself, medieval, tells you. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, they were evil continuously. So it's in their nature to act unruly, to do battles and kill each other in Iran and Iraq and Syria. And where's the place now that the Iran and Gaza, and it's in their nature. They're warriors by nature. They're destructive by nature. But it has to play out because the cycles has to play out. Does that make sense? As much as it's frustrating and it's sad to see, a lot of us as race will be involved in that and we're going to lose lives. You with me? But as I was explaining regarding Panatharu, they look on, they observe, they watch, they're the watchers. They only will intercept or intercede if they know it's not just about one planet. You with me? It's about a galactical. We were talking about, okay, let's put it this way. I always bring it down, and I try to bring it down, formulate it into what we can try and understand, and hopefully I can be clear and to be able to convey this. Look at your body. Your body is a universe, right? From your mind, your brain, down to your toes of your feet. That's a universe. You have millions of cells that are working in harmony with each other and working with your organs. Some organs, do you know what I'm saying, have to relay messages to each other. Your brain has to secrete hormones in order to regulate the homeostasis. You have to drink enough water. What are you doing to your body in doing all of that? You're creating harmony and cohesion. Okay? Now, if you start to eat the wrong type of foods and you expose yourself to radiation and other things like that, what's going to start happening? You're going to destroy that universe. You with me? Likewise, Panatharu, our galactical overseers, they're seeing the whole universe. They're not just seeing one cell. They're not just looking at one cell, they're looking at the whole universe. This is what they have to work with. This is what they have to protect. This is what they have to keep in harmony and in balance. Imagine one cell becoming cancerous, what it can do to the rest of the body. So this how I'm trying to explain. This is how I look at it now. I look at things like that. Do you know what I mean? It's not just about a planet thing, it's a galactical thing. It's a universal thing. And when you start to then look at things in that way, you know that it's important to wake up our brothers and sisters. You know why humanity needs to be woken up. You know why there's a star holocaust, or that there's meteorite called Apophis that's going to smack this planet and that the Masters warned us about. You know why it's important for us to gather together and transform and lead this planet. You understand the reason why this being is here, guiding and warning us and teaching us and letting us know that it's time. Because it's eventually, if we don't, they're going to have to wipe this slate clean again and start all over again. I personally, for one, I want to just make those transitions to the higher realms. You with me? Because that's what my soul is of. Okay? And I'm sure many people can agree with that listening on this call. So essentially, that's what we're working with. And we have to, be aware of this great work and task that we as a people need to do for ourselves and for the rest of humanity. I hope that answers it.
Yes, when we die,
Yeah.
give it our time. Just recently, a good friend of mine lost her daughter, 45 years old.
Mm-hmm.
It's always difficult to see younger people pass on, and then you're kind of questioning, what is give a person's time? How should we look at it in determining?
Your natural time is 120 years. That's your natural nature time. Your body's organs and your whole structure, when you study, you go and research it, scientists have worked out to be 110, 120 years. If you lived a good life, ate the right foods, etc., etc., your organs can live up to 120. Okay? Now, that gets cut short because of many things that we do to our body, pollute it, etc., etc. And when it's unnatural, when a child unfortunately will lose, their life and is cut short at a young age for various reasons. But what's been explained too is that sometimes that child or person, that was their time. You with me? They were given a certain amount of one second, what's going on here? Oh, lost people in Clubhouse. One second. This Clubhouse, I don't like it. I don't like Clubhouse at all now. It's like I've lost people. But it's gonna throw me out. Oh, it's back, I think. It's thrown me out. Believable. Zamar, could you just start another class on Clubhouse, because it just literally just threw me out. I came out to do something and then it's cut me off. Sorry. Where was I? I lost my train of thought because of that. What was I explaining now?
Sometimes they.
Oh yes, sorry, yeah. So when sometimes it happens for a child to lose their life at such a young age, is because whatever they're destined to do, okay, has been done. Like the master explainer, for instance, like you have cot death, baby, what they call baby cot syndrome and stuff like that. Sometimes the child can will itself. Do you know what I mean? Even in the mother's womb, the child can will itself. But again, it could also be the fact that when in the mother's womb, they may feel unwelcomed, unwanted. So hence they'll also lose their life. So there are many factors involved. But essentially, if the child's journey was to learn how to do certain things, Just what I'm saying, in order to then perfect their being or move to the next realm, that's what potentially could happen as well, where they end up transitioning at an early age. So there's many different factors. Now, I'm not going to say this is the exact one. Does that make sense? Okay.
One more quick question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, you said that the spirit that enters the child from the mother's womb. Now, could this spirit be the same sex, the gay tendency?
Okay, yeah. So you have gender, okay, beings. When I say beings, I'm not talking about the physical like sex hormones. You with me? You have female spirits and you have male spirits. So sometimes what will happen is, depending on the mental state of the mother, okay, that female spirit will come and be in a male child. Or the male spirit can go into a female child. That can also happen. Then there are times where the mother's hormones, if it's mentally unbalanced, she can secrete too many female hormones, and that child can be a homosexual. Yeah, we don't say homosexual, we say hormones, because it's the hormones from the mother that can determine also how the child's gonna be. Do you see what I'm saying? What gender, not just gender, but their process of thinking, their mode of thinking, etc., and their sexuality mentally, because of the hormones that's being secreted by the mother. Does that make sense?
Yes, I was speaking to a young lady, and I never spoken to anyone on this topic before. It was interesting because she's in her 30s, and she said, ever since she was a little girl, she had a tendency to like girls, and she tried liking boys at some point, but it just didn't pan out for liking for the girls.
Yeah, there's in nature, what with natural nature does have is, selections. It's nothing unnatural about it. What has happened is, because there's parts where a mother, because of that's why it's very important in our culture that we teach about our young females, etc., and mothers, because whatever she's taken in, the baby is absorbing all of this. You with me? Into them. So it's very important for a mother to be at a very peaceful and calm state. And the male should be able to support her through all of what she's going through, because she's creating life. And that life also, like we said, if she has the wrong matrix, just what I'm saying, that she's thinking about, or has the wrong unbalancement of emotions, that can also manifest in the child. And that child can end up becoming female, attracted to females because of what the emotions and the hormones that are in that child, that female child.
Can it be changed? Can it be changed,
No, you wouldn't. We have always taught that we don't mess with those things because it affects them, even though they're taking hormone replacement, this, etc. It's not just the physiology. You see, this was medical science in the West. They don't think about the mental and the spiritual aspect. They only think about the physical aspect. That, oh, okay, we're just gonna do a gender change, or we're gonna do an operation to remove gender. Just I'm saying, that turn the phallus into a vagina or whatever, vice versa. But it goes more deeper than that, because it's the matrix of the child. The spiritual essence of the child also is at play, in the mental state, and the mind is not in the body. Just I'm saying, your brain is a transducer. That means it sends and receives messages from the mind. The mind is what could be feminine or masculine, as well as the spiritual essence of that child. Does that make sense?
Yes, but I'm wondering, she doesn't want to change sex. No, that's not the situation. But
Yeah,
I'm wondering, like, can she become straight, and
No,
like,
I mean,
I've seen
no,
that.
I hear you.
I've seen situations where they said that, many people who are living the gay life have returned, and
Some people make the decision.
heterosexual,
Yeah,
right now.
Some people do make the decision to become that. But is it going against their true nature? Is that natural nature, or they're just forcing it because of society's, look on things and tabooism and all of these other things? You see what I'm saying? To make you want to be who you're not. You see what I'm saying? Nature doesn't discriminate like that. Because even when you look into nature itself, there's certain creatures that are asexual. There's certain animals that will turn from one sex to another. There's a particular fish that is male, I believe, but when it comes to mating season, it transforms to a female. There's actually fishes that do that. So nature has these amazing things that they do. I can't remember. I'm trying to find the word, but it happens in natural nature. So it would be wrong for anyone to really force the issue if this is who they are because of society. Do you see what I'm saying?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And then I'm just going to add to that. There's also beings that have double resonance, and they're known as gatekeepers. So you have certain children that are born, okay, who have a dual resonant frequency, and they're known as gatekeepers, known as hermaphrodites and hemaphrodites. Okay, so you have homosexuals, that's the hormone, and then you have beings that have spirits, female spirit in a male body, and you have beings that have male spirit in a female body. They're known as he and hermaphrodites. And they are actually known as gatekeepers because they resonate on a particular frequency. And that frequency, what it does is it allows them to open up gateways to other dimensions. They're known as gatekeepers. You can go and research about gatekeepers.
Okay.
Okay. So the question Broderick is asking is, hang on, before we go up, he says, so are you saying that it is okay to be gay? Yes, we are saying, Broderick, that it's okay to be gay. There's no judgment on anybody in Wu-Sabat. We don't judge like that. Okay, you have to understand that nature has its way of doing things, and we have to respect nature's ways. Okay. Yeah. Oh, this one. Okay. Honestly, seriously, I don't know what happened, man. It's like I'm afraid to come out now to read anything because it just cut me off. Right. So we've lost people on Clubhouse, unfortunately. I hope they can join back on. Right. Time is 9 o'clock. There's a question again. Kobe, you have a question? I see your hands up for a while. So yeah, do you have a question?
Right about Zamal.
Rahubad, Kobe.
Yes, so I wanted to quickly touch on Mafhuzet.
Okay.
I wanted to first ask, with this liquid gold, is it literally liquid AU? That's my first question.
Okay.
And then my second question to lead on from that will probably be, um, where does this originate from? Am I getting it right by saying it comes from the sacred feminine? And yeah, I just want to know where it originates from. Is it in only in golden children, or is it in all African people?
Okay. It's dormant. So it's dormant in all African people, and it needs to be reactivated. So what the brother's asking is that we have what is known as monoatomic gold. Okay, so when you're talking about the liquid gold, it's in a monoatomic state. All right, and that monoatomic state flows in the blood. So we have liquid gold in that sense. You with me? Because it is in the blood.
So we're talking AU, yeah?
That's right, AU. Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
Talking about
yeah.
AU. Yeah, so
Okay.
liquid gold flows in the blood in a monatomic state. All right. So what this monatomic state allows you to do is allows you to again bend time and space and travel interdimensionally. That's what it is. The female can be reactivated by certain sexual acts,
Yeah.
and the male can be activated also by certain sexual acts. So that's how but it is in most Nagaru. And this is one of the reasons why they were mating and, you know, taking slaves as well, was for the liquid gold.
Mhm.
It's so that they could, especially when the woman's on her menses, they used to actually try to have sexual intercourse with the female to obtain the liquid gold.
Wow, okay. But is that a thing? Is that meant to happen?
Not what you mean when you mean meant to happen, what do you mean, what sense?
So okay. So what you just said there, yeah. Do
Mm-hmm.
you mean they will have sexual intercourse during the woman's
Yes,
menstrual?
menses, yeah. That's what they
Okay.
used to do, yeah.
Okay. So when you say that's what they used to do you
As in
mean
as in the Tamahu, Mukasu.
okay, but that's not the correct thing to do.
No, that's not the correct way to do it.
Okay. Okay.
Correct way, yeah. They only did it in order to, because of their nature as being vampires, etc. That's what they would do in order to access it. The other way that they tried to access it too was when they used to dig up our ancestors and they will actually crush the bones. They'll crush the
Mm,
bones, etc., and try to extract it that way. What the master explained is when they did drink it, it will only last for a certain amount of time, and it can also send them in a deranged state, give them a deranged state. So, do you know the story of Jekyll and Hyde,
Um, enlighten me.
where he would 1 minute Dr. Jekyll, and then 1 minute he would be Mr. Hyde, where he would acting all crazy and do
Hmm.
things like either hurt somebody or kill, etc. So he had a split personality.
Hmm.
And that was from drinking certain formulas. This is what happened to them. When they tried to drink the liquid gold, it would turn them crazy.
And I take it they're doing that with the crushed bones to get into the bone marrow.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't want to touch too much on the sexual act, but does this does
We're
this
grown ups and
relate?
we're grown ups.
All right. Does this relate? Because obviously, you know, the Hindus, I've forgotten what
The Kama
they have.
Sutra.
Yes, is that related? Is that
It's definitely
to
related.
okay, okay.
Yeah, because when you look at the story of Ningish Zida, for
Hmm.
those who are not familiar, this is your true story of the serpent in the garden. So when your story is that the elder or the being known as Ningish Zida, he was the one that was able to show Eve and give her fellatio. And from that sexual act, he gave a portion of his gold to her, and she was able to then to give it to Adam. And that's how the Adamites were able to have the liquid gold from them, and they were able to live a longer life. So it's from Ningish Zida.
Okay.
Yeah.
He
So
was okay. I understand he's Anunnaki, right?
what
He
Ningish
was
Zida?
yeah.
No, he was part Anunnaki and part African. His mother was Hisat, and
Okay.
his father was Nudimud. So
Okay.
that gave birth to Ningish Zida. So and he acquired, the liquid gold obviously from his mother.
Hmm.
And the Panataru had the liquid gold in them when they incarnated on this planet anyway. So
Okay.
they already had the form, the Mafkuzat in them. So the
Mm,
Mafkuzat is not just the liquid gold, obviously. You have the other orbitally rearranged monatomic elements.
mm,
No, I don't want to lock your eye for. Yeah, so you have what is called as ORME, ORME. That's orbitally rearranged monatomic elements. Okay, and these elements consist of seven, I believe, seven. I'm trying to get my thing to open so I can get the. But you can look it up. You can actually research. Actually, let me see if I can.
sorry, Damar, can you just repeat the
Yeah, yeah, sure.
acronym?
Right. ORME.
Hmm.
It stands for orbitally.
Hmm.
Yeah. So the orbit of the electrons are rearranged, okay, where they become monoatomic, which means one single atom, lighter than a feather, so light. You see what I'm saying? So it gets vaporized into like this state where it's lighter and it has the potential to then literally vapor, disappear. So that vaporization creates that one atomic element. And that one atomic element is then obviously created from these certain elements, being platinum is one of them, palladium, but I'm going to bring it up and I can read it out.
Okay.
So
Yeah, sorry. So orbitally,
it's all right. Orbitally
yeah,
rearranged,
yeah.
monoatomic
Sorry. Yeah.
element.
Okay.
Okay, what's going on? So I don't know what's going on here. Can you? Just bear with me. I'm just trying to. I keep losing myself. Yeah, it's gonna get. It's gonna get. Yeah. Okay, so I'm just trying to get the right. That's gold. Okay. Right, so they refer to as white powder gold, elixir, philosopher's stone. Okay, so the acronym for it, as I mentioned, is monoatomic rearranged. It's gone, isn't it?
Yeah, it's gone. There's gonna be no way in trying to, there's only 10 minutes.
Right. So these precious metals in its monoatomic form, including gold. So these are the elements: gold, platinum, silver, palladium, osmium, ruthenium, rhodium, and iridium. Okay, that's what? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, so these 8 elements, Partner Babyanun explained which each element, when they're in the atomic state, have the ability to do. So you can, break gravity, bend space and time, etc. Yeah, by having these elements, you can regrow your DNA, on the DNA axis. It actually operates on the DNA axis. So there's many abilities that you're able to manifest when you have these. And in the book Mafkuzat, he explains in there about the female, how she can be reactivated and how the male can be reactivated, because it's not the same way as the female. The males have to be reactivated in a different way, but the female would have to reactivate the male.
Okay.
Okay. And then when they're both reactivated, that's when they're able to give birth to a golden child.
Is that the master secret?
Is it master secret or actual facts?
Dimensional ash and that's not.
Yes, there's there's another one called dimensional. Yeah. What I've got here?
Sacred ash.
No, that's mine linked. I've got here. I've got a sacred ash one. No, I've got it. Brilliant. Look, I've got the secret tones here. I thought I didn't bring it. Right. So in the secret tones, it's called Parkadash Shalil. Yes, the master secrets, Kobe. So Parkadash Shalil Nagam Wu Pa Mafkhuzat. So I read from verse 36. Let's maybe take a step back a bit. Right. When exposed to, no, that's talking about craft A. Right. The absorption. Okay, I read from because first it starts from the tones first of all. So you got the FAC tones. So it explains here in verse 22, Now, for what purpose were you, Kharadu children, tuned to A major of the music scale? Verse 23, the body is able to store Fatir al-Fatah Nashat, natural nature energy, after being exposed to a small electrical charge, which the body naturally produces when vibrating on A. So this is another reason for the FAC. This enables the body to act like a capacitor. So if you don't know what a capacitor is, it stores, okay? It stores energy. An energy storage device, thus acting as a superconductor. It conducting outformation. So this is where, again, the chanting and everything and the tones and speaking it, because it conducts outformation into information instantly from beyond this dimension or into this Wahu Makwan universe, Akal al mental to Akal mind. Verse 26. When exposed to minute amounts of Nashat energy, it responds in such a way that it actually floats. So a golden child can float as Kabbat art crafts float or hover. Verse 27. This absorption of Pater al-Fatah Nashat, natural nature energy, by way of your tone A, was in assistance with the monoatomic elements that was once in your bodies by way of Pa Muntaru, the overseers. Verse 28. They call it white gold, white powder gold, as they do all cream-colored things, yet in actual fact is a fine dust of 8 precious elements exhibiting extraordinary properties. Once reduced to a single atom through an ancient science called alchemy, in ancient Hatat Ka'a Pata, Heliopolis, and Hatat Ba'a Pata, Nubia, and Napata. We call these elements Nebu or Imbu for Nabat gold. So then it gives you the list of gold. And then I'm going to jump to verse 31. This mafkuzat, liquid gold, will take you to a mystic state of akal mind and khatat body, where you meet with Pa Munta'u, the overseers, and Gayor transform as one of them. Verse 32. As you know, you have red wine, that's the red damam blood, and white wine, white blood or matal, semen. The female, she purifies her body with her Aiha Dawa moon cycle from ovulation to menstruation. Red blood cells mixed with white blood as dead cells, and upon reactivation, she will retain her pure Nabet gold power because of her Aher Dawa moon cycle, as long as she keeps her Damam blood pure. Verse 34. When a woman joins with a man who has not transformed, and drinks of his white wine and mixes her red wine with his, and they give birth to a Sawal son, this causes her Nabet gold, yellow light of Atunreye to go out. She, Rayura, transformed into a woman of man. So she will need her gold or yellow light put back on, reactivated. Now, the male will have to be restored or transformed differently. Zazazu men don't menstruate, so his body does not replenish itself. He does not ovulate each month, so his khatat body does not rayor transform. His solar plexus or inner sun must be relit also. Then, after he is reactivated, a female can mix with him, and there'll be no problem with her retaining her Nabet gold power, because they both have been Rayura transformed. Don't forget also, the Zazastat woman produces seminal fluid or liquid life, white wine, the food of Achach, ether. Okay, does that give you an answer?
It does. I think I need to get the book and really break it down. There's a lot of things from that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely need to get that book and break it down. Okay, I've got one last question.
Sure, go ahead.
So I'm not I don't know, I'm just I'm just put I'm looking at different pieces on a puzzle. I'm just seeing if it fits, yeah.
Mm.
So obviously there's certain areas on the planet where gold is very rich and attainable.
Hmm.
Does that have anything to do with Mafkuzet or how it's I don't know how it develops within a sacred feminine in history? Has there ever been any link between those particular areas and people who have Mafkuzet or golden children?
To an extent, yes. To an extent, yeah, because the deposits in those areas, okay, would be in the soil. There's certain plants that their roots, like for instance, there's a plant that's a diuretic, alfalfa.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
Alfalfa, its roots go really deep.
Hmm.
Okay, so what I'm saying is that there are certain plants that when their roots reach deep, because of the deposits of whatever elements are in that area, those plants retain it. So then when obviously we then will cook it, consume it, etc., that also becomes a part of us. So there are going to be areas where some people are actually taking that into their system. You see what I'm saying? The gold,
Mm.
naturally, in Africa.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
very interesting.
I think, brother Scott, which one about we're talking
Travel
about?
taxon.
It says the gold is good.
Oh yeah, yeah. In the Bible, it talks about the gold is good. In Genesis 2:12, yeah. It says, and the gold of that land is good. Yeah, referring to, let's see, pure 24 karat. Yeah, so there's good gold in certain parts of Africa, but the soil as well where these plants are growing. The master teacher in one of the books, I'm trying to keep is he talks about argan oil. Yeah,
Okay.
argan oil is another one also that he says has advised in one of the books to use. Also, that's also good for us as Nagaru. Yeah, it's actually known as the golden something or the golden oil or something to that effect. Yeah, so there's certain elements, oils, foods that we're supposed to consume because it help us. It heals us inside, internally and externally.
Where you just mentioned argan oil, is there anything that's said about castor oil?
No, he hasn't really touched on castor oil. Not that I'm
Okay,
aware of.
okay.
Yeah, okay. Oh yeah, pure. Yeah, he's mentioning pure. I mean, there's nothing wrong with castor oil, but yeah, he's mentioning the older scrolls that he released, like Purity and Neatness, Health and Maintenance. There's a book, old book called that, where you can find out more information. But yeah, essentially, so having this gold in our system was part of Natharu, and also the universe. When you read emotional energy,
Mhm.
it talks about how there was in the asteroids that were sent to this planet and into the universe, there was gold on these asteroids.
Mhm.
And these asteroids bombarded the planet and went into the seas and into the land, etc. So essentially, we are golden children because the gold came from outside into this realm, you know, and we have that in our DNA by way of Panatharu, but it has to be reactivated. Yeah, yeah, we got Elon Musk now trying to go shopping out of space. He's going into outer space to do some shopping with gold and other precious metals. Yeah, from the asteroid belt. So yeah, it's all out there. Gold is out there. It's been out in the universe for a very long time.
All right,
Okay.
travel taxon.
Antaka Theatre for Zama anytime. We're ending our class very soon. Any last burning ones? Because before I get any stares from the brothers from security. So I got a few questions here. Whose country is richer, the Hindu or Christian countries? Okay, that one you can do your research on, but It depends on really the wealth is not determined by what's in the bank account. The wealth is determined by the country, yeah, and what's underneath. So if you're talking about wealth-wise, the Hindus are much richer. They got rubies, diamonds, things like that in the earth. Christian countries, they just go and plunder. That's what they do. They just plunder. Yeah. So are you saying that it's okay to be gay? Whoa. Yeah, we when you go and read Sodom Misinterpreted, you'll understand. Yeah, there's a book the master wrote regarding David. If you want to know the story of David and his friend Nathan, there was homosexuality in there that was going on between them. It's something that's been happening for a long time, but we don't condone anybody who's homosexual, etc., because we understand the science and nature of homosexuality. It may offend people, but we're Sabians and we deal with natural nature. So, you know, we're not threatened. Our sexuality is not threatened like that. FAC had to get a keyboard to experience that. You can also get something called what's it called? A harmonium. Yeah, if you look up the name harmonium, that you can also get the natural air instrument that actually utilizes air as sound. Okay, it's a Hindu instrument or Indian from India, but it's called a harmonium. I believe that's all the questions that I've read out. I apologize if I've not got to anybody, unless there's any blast burning questions. We'll wrap up for class. Okay. All right. So, it's okay. It's home time. It's home time for school is over. Class is over. It's home time. The bell's been rang. Okay. I'd like to say Pokawon. Okay. Taupong, Moisha. Until next time, have a brilliant weekend. Enjoy yourself. Look after yourselves. Wu-Sabat, practice it. Spread it around the world. Teach your family. Okay. You're welcome, Broderick Foreman. Okay. And anyone who's seeking to become a member, please seek out just seek out on Nashat Kayat on WhatsApp and see if you want us to become a member, or you can also register for those who are really serious. You can register on the UnitedSabiansWorldwide.com, where you can actually then have access to updates and the stores around the world and the garments, etc. Start coming to the community events that we have, okay, and then enrich yourself in the culture and get to know who we are. Be familiar, because that's what family is, being familiar with each other. Okay, so please, 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 if you are interested, go onto that website. Also nashat.co.uk/connect for the classes. And Ashok Wadu.
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 Wadu.